This is part 2 of a 2-part video series that I'm making about how to heal your relationships. If you haven't yet watched part 1, I'll leave a link for it in the description box below and also here. If you haven't yet watched that, I highly recommend that you do. But in this video, I'm going to be covering how to let go of our grievances. And then I'm going to discuss the distinction between having expectations and creating healthy boundaries. I'll also be talking about the role that self-worth plays in our relationships and the simple yet often overlooked truth about why some of our relationships are effortless and some of them aren't. But before I begin, if at any point you find that this information is helpful, then please like, share, subscribe, or comment so that more people have access to this information. And lastly, if what I'm saying is resonating with you and you're interested in working together, then please feel free to reach out to me at the email provided in the description box below. Letting go of concepts. In so many of my videos, I talk about letting go of the self-concept, letting go of all of the ideas that we've accumulated from our past that we think make up who we are, and letting go of all of it, because none of it is really what it is that we are. What you are is pure awareness, consciousness. And what we're always letting go of is the personal self so that we can uncover the real self and stay in that seat of true self as much of the time as possible. Now, our intimate relationships are a wonderful way of uncovering all of these self-concepts and wounds that we're still holding on to, because these are negative thought programs that we have yet to let go of. Our partner seems to kick up all of these emotions unlike anybody else. One of the most important things that needs to happen in our intimate relationships is that we need to make space for forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't about giving somebody a free pass and saying that it was okay that they did what they did. What it is realizing that whatever actions that they took that were hurtful were simply their own conditioning. They were operating from an unconscious place. And so we can find compassion for people when we realize that that's always the case when someone is doing something that is hurtful. Because if you have more awareness, then you never want to hurt anybody. It's only when we're unconscious of our own wounds and our own patterns and our own habits that we do things that are hurtful to other people. Now, the other thing to realize is that you do not have to take on anybody else's stuff. If somebody says something to you or does something to you that's hurtful, you don't have to take it on. You do not need to make that part of you. You don't need to identify with what somebody is saying. Remember, the more that we can forgive somebody, the more we're letting ourselves off the hook. Because when we're not forgiving someone, we're holding on to that. We're actually tethering that person to us when we don't forgive them, because our energies are still tied to one another. When you forgive somebody, you actually cut that cord. You let them off the hook and you let yourself off the hook. This is why forgiveness is so important, because it isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about you liberating yourself from holding on to those unnecessary feelings. Because until we learn how to let go of some of these resentments and grievances and begin to forgive our partner, we're never going to reach those higher states of joy, of freedom. Expectations versus boundaries. I was talking to a close friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about how important it is to make the distinction between having expectations in a relationship versus having boundaries. And the distinction is this. When you're in a relationship with somebody and you have very specific expectations about the way that you'd like things to go, let's say, for example, you're going to go out on a date with your partner and you're expecting the night to go a certain way. You want him to open the door for you. You want him to pay for dinner. You want him to tell you that you're beautiful. You want him to make you laugh. And you have this list of things that you're expecting in terms of how you want the night to go. Now, when you approach any encounter with your partner in that way, you're going to inevitably feel disappointed because it's rare that anybody is going to live up to all of those expectations. So you're sort of setting yourself up to be disappointed. If instead you approach the date with an open mind and you have no expectations as to how you think the date is going to actually go, what you have instead is a deep understanding of your own boundaries. And what this means is that you have a clear understanding of what it is that you know you deserve. It's really about understanding where your values lie. And then when you go out on a date with someone, what you project is that you know yourself. You know the way that you like to be treated. You know that you have a deep respect for yourself. And so you really don't put up with anybody's bullshit. And when you have that kind of understanding about yourself and you've set up those boundaries for yourself, then the other person senses that and they feel that and they naturally treat you in the way that you believe you deserve to be treated. So that's the difference. That's the distinction between expectations versus boundaries. One is very limited in its approach and it sets you up to feel disappointed. And the other one has to do with what it is that you believe you deserve in a relationship. Now, this is such a critical thing for us to understand as women, because the more that we feel that we deserve to be treated a certain way, the more that we attract a partner that is going to meet those standards. Because we always attract somebody into our lives in terms of what we believe we deserve. And this is why it's so critical that we let go of our old wounding patterns that keep us stuck in feeling that we don't deserve very much in a relationship. And as we let go and shed all of those layers of our past, the layers of negative programming that are telling us things like, you'll never meet anybody that's going to treat you well. You're never going to be able to have this, that, or the other thing because you don't deserve it, because you're not good enough. Right? So this is why we have to do that inner work. And then we can attract somebody into our life that is going to meet us at that frequency. Because if we're still carrying around all of those wounds with us, it doesn't matter what kind of front we think we're putting up. Energetically, we're still operating from that place. This is why one of the best analogies that we can ever use to describe how we attract certain people into our life is using the analogy of the radio dial. So you are always projecting some sort of frequency energetically. So if you're turning your radio dial to 89.9, you're going to get a certain radio signal back. You're going to hear that music that you've tuned into. And it's the same in our relationships. So when we turn our frequency to a certain place, we're always going to get back whatever it is that we're putting out. So when you realize that the energy that you're putting out and telling your partner energetically what you're giving to them is this frequency of, I am not enough. I am not deserving of having a healthy relationship with you. When you're screaming that energetically, that's what you're going to get back. So when we realize this and we start to notice what it is that we're thinking, what it is that we're believing about ourselves and about our relationship, then we can start making change. Then we can start letting go of all of the things that aren't serving us and working at that level. Instead of trying to fix our partner and blame our partner and think that our partner is the source of all of our problems. Because remember, nothing in life is personal. Life is, God is, and you are that. You are life. And when we use our intimate relationships as a way of healing all of our wounds, then we really begin to make progress on our spiritual path. Because nothing kicks up those wounds faster than our intimate relationships. Are they really making you feel a certain way? What's fascinating to me about relationships is that we can really distill why people like being in certain relationships. It's always because you like the way somebody makes you feel. Now, what's funny about this is nobody makes you feel a certain way. Why do we enjoy being around certain people and not others? And the reason is that the people we enjoy being around don't hit our wounds. Those people manage to actually placate all of these negative emotions that we might be having inside. And instead, they manage to lift us up and make us feel all of those lovely emotions. And it's that simple. That's why we enjoy being around those people. And this is also true typically at the beginning or honeymoon phase of a relationship. Usually two people, when they're falling in love, they manage to lift one another up and allow for us to feel that our hearts can stay open. And what we're loving about that person is the fact that they're actually opening us up instead of closing us down. they're managing to go around some of the blockages that we have stored in our heart and still allow us to feel that our hearts are open. And that's why it feels so good to be in that honeymoon phase of a relationship. It's also why certain people continue to jump from relationship to relationship, seeking out that beginning honeymoon phase and never really getting into the depths of intimacy with someone so that they can avoid ever having to have their wounds hit. Now, the thing is that we're never able to keep up that game because no one is a mind reader and no one is ever going to be able to lift you up all of the time and make you feel exactly how you want to feel. It's an impossible feat. And it's honestly extremely unattractive when somebody feels that you need them to make you feel good. Nothing is more unattractive to somebody when they begin to feel that you are the source of their happiness. Because love is freedom. And I'm not saying that this means that you can go ahead and cheat and steal and lie and do anything that you want with your partner. But what I am saying is that it's free in the sense that you realize that you are a sovereign being. You do not need your partner to make you happy. You are both healthy and happy, and you decided to come together to share all of your happiness with them. You don't get your happiness from them. Sure, you can experience happiness with somebody, but you're very aware of the fact that your happiness comes from you. It doesn't come from your partner. Your partner isn't another thing, another object that is giving you happiness. Your partner is someone that you share your life with. Your partner is somebody that you enjoy life with. I hope that this week you can start to work with some of these things. You get to decide how you want to feel. And this is also true with your intimate relationships. The more that you work on yourself, the more you work on letting go of all of your negative programs, the better your relationships will become. I love you all so much. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.